Jamaica created the creature that Immaculate is. And I say this without apology. Jamaica created the creature that Immaculate is. If you want to know why I've said this, just stay tuned and watch the video to the end. Greetings and salutations everyone, and welcome back to another of my videos. My name is Dorraine Reid and I make content on things that are cultural, educational and creative. If this is your first time stopping by my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. And of course to all my returning viewers, welcome, big up yourself, maximum respect. So let me just jump straight into today's video. So I'm going to be talking about an educational matter today. So recently there was a headline in the Jamaica Gleaner speaking to the fact that Immaculate Conception High School for Girls would have denied a student a place in its upper sixth form simply because she did not meet the requirement that Immaculate had for their sixth form. And so many persons came out swinging against Immaculate, that Immaculate is unreasonable, etc. So the parent took to the media to say that the school was unreasonable. Several persons commented to say the school was unreasonable, they are denying this child the right to her education, etc. And so I thought about it long before I decided to comment, because I think this matter is very layered, right? So Immaculate has a tradition of sixth form for many years, many years. And they had their sixth form program long before even the government decided that, you know what, sixth form is supposed to be mandatory for all students. So I want to take things a little at a time. I'm trying my best not to ramble because I want to make my points very clear. So, and I'm going to start where my very first thought went when I saw the headline and I read some of the article. My thought was, how do you say that the school is unreasonable when you as a parent would have signed up for this particular rule? You were aware of the rule before your child attended sixth form. You were aware of the rule while your child was in lower sixth form. Why is it now that the arm of the rule is now touching you that you're considering this rule to be unreasonable? Now, yes, we can look at it to say rules are rules and we can't just look at it that way because, rules should not be oppressive, etc. But the reality is, Immaculate had this rule a long time ago. This rule is not a rule that came up yesterday. What it therefore means is that I'm sure there are other students who would have fallen victim to this rule prior to now. But persons have not said anything. So guess what? The fact that persons have not spoken out against it, guess what? We are just as culpable because we did not think the rule unreasonable until we have become victims of the same rule that we signed up for. Yes, this mother and this child signed up for this rule when you went to sixth form. While in lower six, you were constantly reminded, but you accepted. Nobody said the rule was unreasonable. Now that the child did not meet that matriculation, suddenly we are saying the rule is now, is an inconsiderate rule. But here we go with something else, right? So here is something else. Could the school have used their discretion and allow the student a space in upper sixth form? Of course they could have. There's no two way about it because this is not a child who is failing. This child, obviously based on the grades overall, is a student who has been performing well. Yes, and to be accepted into the sixth form, the child also clearly is not only academically doing well, but also doing well in other activities within the institution. So could they have utilized their discretion? Yes, they could have. but they chose not to. They chose not to because they're trying to maintain the standard that they believe that they've set. But here's the other part, and we can say that they're inconsiderate for that, because here you have a good child, a good student, etc., and so they could have used their discretion. But here's the other side. What about the other students who have been turned away in a similar way because they would not have met all the matriculation or the standards that the school said that they are supposed to meet? Those students would not have been granted the same kind of discretion. And let us say this year the school decides that, okay, let me allow this particular student the discretion and come. Next year the other student, there might be somebody else, and the grades may not be as good as this very student. Therefore, we are going to extend a certain kind of discretionary arm to this individual. And if each time somebody comes and the discretion continues, then what you're going to find happening, the standard that the school is trying to maintain for students in their upper sixth form, eventually it is going to fall, and then a new standard is going to become the norm. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily, but sometimes it can be. So the whole idea of discretion can also be a double-edged sword. Yes, the whole idea of it can also be a double-edged sword. Now, I saw some people saying that, oh, the child is being denied her right because the government said that every student is supposed to go to school up until to 12th grade, etc. So it's mandatory. Now, and this is where I know I have a challenge with this thing about sixth form being mandatory. I think the whole sixth form pathway system is a little bit untidy, because the government cannot issue an edict to high school to say that sixth form is mandatory when we still have institutions that have no sixth form. In some of these institutions, they don't have sixth form. They stop at grade 11. At the fifth form. So when those students leave fifth form, where do they go? Is the government going to twist the arm of another institution that has a sixth form to take these students in? So therefore, we have a little challenge with that. However, I'm sure the government will tell you, or the ministry will tell you, that there are alternative pathways that the student can take that will suffice as that grade 12 level that they would want the students to take. So maybe they could find a community college that they can attend where they can redo their CXC subjects, or they can continue. But here's the other part. This mandatory sixth form that the ministry or that the government has put in place, does it have some criteria? What's the criteria to matriculate into that sixth form program? Is it just an open sixth form program where once I finish grade 11, I can just move into a sixth form, Do I need to have any subjects at all, or do I need to have 5 CXCs, or do I need to have 3 CXCs, and at what grade should I have them, etc.? These characteristics are not very, very clear unless they're there and I missed them. And if there's anybody who is watching, who is aware of what some of these criteria are to enter into the sixth form pathway, if it's very defined, direct, and I've missed it, I want somebody, if you know of it, direct me to it, because I may have missed it. Yes, but because that is also not clear, we cannot simply say that Immaculate has denied the child a right to education because the government said that they should be in the sixth form. Yes, or go to school up to grade 12. We have to look at this, I believe, overall, look at it holistically. We can't just take one thing and say, oh, because the school don't take the student, that means that the school is also unreasonable. Another thing is that, yes, if the government is going to make this kind of pronouncement to say that sixth form is mandatory and all the students should go, I am curious as to the dialogue that would have been had with these traditional institutions who would have had their sixth forms for many, many years ago, even before several other schools had sixth form, because some of these schools, they had the sixth form in place many, many moons ago. Yes, in order to cater to their children and their students along with others. And they would have had their criteria for these, for entry into their sixth form program, and they have been keeping those standards. So what is the discussion that the ministry would have had with these particular institutions in order for them to meet them where they are and make some adjustment to the standard that they have for sixth form in order to facilitate everybody if sixth form is going to be mandatory. Yes, because it can't just be because the ministry issues an edict, then everything changes and fall into place. There need to have been some dialogue, and I'm not saying the dialogue did not happen, but I'm curious as to what that dialogue included, if the dialogue did in fact happen. But here is the monster, or the part in this Immaculate saga that I believe is the challenge. Nobody should be complaining about Immaculate and them being unreasonable, because Jamaica made Immaculate what Immaculate is. As a society, we have fed into what Immaculate is. So first thing that came out was this Educate Jamaica, where they are ranking schools by number of CXC passes, and every year Immaculate is ranked at the top. And I've often said over the years that, listen, Immaculate is not the top school in Jamaica, because I believe that Educate Jamaica ranking is very flawed, because Immaculate gets the students who performs at the top from 7th grade. The students who are leaving primary school to go to Immaculate, if they are not getting 98 minimum average in their overall GSAT, they are primary exit, whatever the test will be that they have, because they change so many times, so they are now at PEP. If they don't get a minimum 98 average, they cannot make it into Immaculate. And Immaculate has insisted that these are the students that they want. And the Ministry of Education, over the years, they have been sending those students to Immaculate. But as a society, we've all embraced that as well, because we all want to send our students to Immaculate, because Immaculate is the school. Yes, and so over the years, we have fed into that to say Immaculate is the top performing high school in Jamaica. And so all of us want to buy into that, because you know what? Our child must be going to the top high school in Jamaica. And a number of those students who go in with those high average, all they have to do is to maintain it. And that is why I continue to say that it is a flawed ranking, because you have other schools who will get students performing at 60. That's what their average is. And when those teachers are finished with those students move from 60 to 80. So while they may not get to a 90 something average, but they move from 60% average to an 80% average, that is serious value added. But when you look at an Immaculate where everybody goes in at 98 to 100 and you're expected to stay there throughout, where is the value added? Yes, and so the schools who move a child from 60 to 80, that school is not accounted for on the ranking to say that this school is at this particular level. Some of those schools are ranked way at the bottom, and that ranking does not capture the value added. And that is why I consider that ranking to be flawed. But every year as a society, we look forward to that ranking and we call out the top 20 schools on that ranking, and Immaculate is at the top, and we continue to applaud Immaculate being at the top. So we have fed into Immaculate being that school. So therefore, if we have fed into it to decide that only students with 98 and 99 and 100% can make it into the 7th grade and getting through to the high schools, then Immaculate has all the rights, to decide that, okay, our standard for upper sixth form has to be this, and lay out what that standard is. Yes, so you must get what? From between grades 1 to grade 3 in all the units in order for you to make it into their upper sixth form. Therefore, we cannot complain, because we have bought into the standard for the 7th grade and we all fight to get our children there. So why is it that we are now complaining when they have established the same standard for their upper sixth form? No, we can't complain. Yes, what's the difference between the 7th grade and the 12th grade standard? It's the same. So we can't now complain and say that Immaculate is unreasonable, because none of us complain about them being unreasonable when they decide that the students that we get in our 7th grade must be the top performing students. Yes, we have to look at the role that we've played in shaping that. And so we can't now just come out and put out a bite to say, yes, it is unreasonable, it is unreasonable. We have to look at the entire picture. But here's another point that I want to make. And I don't agree with the mother to have come to John Public to say to the media that the Immaculate is unreasonable. Because we are talking about the kind of embarrassment. Well, not we. I heard Dion Jackson Miller on her comment on it talked about the embarrassment that this may have caused for this particular child. But by coming to the media, I think the mother has fueled that embarrassment. What the mother should have done, the mother should have found another space for her child, because she also needs to let her child know that she has choices. Yes, she needs to allow her child to recognize that, listen, because this one place did not accept you because you did not meet what their standard is, it doesn't mean that you can't survive. We need to allow our children to recognize that we have choices. So the way sometimes to fight some things is not that you must always go head on and butt and go to the media and public and bring public pressure to bear. That does not always help a situation. Sometimes you make it even more difficult for the child. And so the parent needed to have empowered that child, for the child to recognize that the child is a high performing student who can take those results and still get into another place that offers the same kind of courses, and she can excel just the same. But by trying to fight with Immaculate, now coming to the media, making a bigger public discourse of the matter, now persons know who that child is, and that is where the embarrassment for that child comes in. And then it also is a disempowering. Yes, it's not everything is for the media. And yes, if you want to create a change so another child does not suffer the same fate because you want Immaculate to change that standard, then find another medium. But bringing it to the public and having this open discourse for some things don't always work, especially when the thing about sixth form and accepting somebody in sixth form is so layered. There's no definitive channel, there's no definitive thing, and there's nothing that you can use to hold them accountable a particular way that will force them to change. You have to find that channel that can empower and encourage and get them to change that rule if that is what you want. But you as a mother, I don't think the mother has empowered the student or the child the way I think she could have empowered the child if she had taken another approach to getting this matter resolved or getting the child to move on to somewhere else. But those are just my thoughts. Maybe somebody else is thinking something and you have another opinion on it. What are your thoughts if you're aware of it? Immaculate did not accept a student in its upper sixth form because she got a grade 4 in one of her units. Yes, and they believe that anybody who goes to their upper sixth form, they all should get between grades 1 to grades 3. And the student would have, of the 4, would have gotten 3 grades 1, and she got 1 grade 4 instead of a grade 3. And Immaculate did not accept because she did not meet the full requirements. So let me know what are your thoughts. These are just my few thoughts, so I'd like to hear what you are thinking about this entire saga. Did Jamaica make Immaculate the monster that it is, or the creature that it is, that we are now trying to fight against and push back against? Just let me know what are your thoughts. Just go ahead and put them in the comment section. Until I make another video, walk good and may good duppy follow you. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel.